Well, seems like we have a couple more bugs that are still happening. I thought I got Silverado fixed, but apparently not. It is still a little finicky. C'est la vie. All right, I'm going to put this out there, and then we will be off to the races, so to speak. We're still doing this. Bit more of the Fortnite followed by artwork. So the reason why is because I'm still trying to get everything all kind of squared away, and it has been a bit of a stressful day for me, and so we're still going to be doing some of this. That being said, we're going to do more animation tonight. We're going to have a break, kind of like back in the day. I used to have breaks in the middle of the stream, and I'm going to try and incorporate that during this stream tonight. The sun's actually up, so I'm starting to feel like day. And we're going to be getting back to that game that was being made a while back. Now that I have everything kind of set up, I'm ready to resume that. There we go. All right, put that out there into the, digital space out there. While the guy continues to fly around like a yahoo, gonna make sure that my UI is kind of all set up over here. Still trying to figure out how to work on the smaller screen. Typically, I had the chat on the large screen, but with this new setup, I don't have that case. So, thus, it is a little limiting what I can see. There we go. All right, that's good enough to get started. Be sure to holler if there's something messed up. Like I'm already seeing, something messed up. There we go. Much better. Sound delay there. Wait a minute. Oh no. I've seen this before. Stand by. I'm gonna go in here and hide. Alright, so this is a capture card problem. Let us see here. Come over here, capture card, deactivate, inactivate. Okay, that worked better. Just gotta make sure, the audio is like coming in as fast as the video. And for me, it was about 2 seconds off. Whoa, didn't mean to do that. A lot of footsteps around here. I think he's underneath me. Nope, never mind, he ran. Yeah, for the best. Greetings there, Twiggles. How you doing? Trying to fix my, trying to fix your, trying to fix your, hoved board? I got like 2 years ago or so. Am I saying that right? TW. Ah, yeah, there we go. Indeed, yep, I recognize you. How's it going? Oh, we have audio problems again already. Okay, come over here. Deactivate. Activate. There we go. That sound difference can be very annoying. Hoverboard. God, I wish I had a hoverboard. Sadly, only hoverboard I've ever had was in this game. Yeah, fishy. It's not fishy. A lot of weapons, not a lot of fish. Yeah, storm actually hits fast. That's the last cast. Okay, nope. Health. What the heck? Storm went to a crown again. That's happened before. Interesting. Let's have some health. Nope. Now I'm having audio problems again. I'm gonna have to unplug the thing and plug it back in. Ah, health. Perfect. It's like a balance thing for fun. Ah. Not a legitimate hoverboard like, you know, sci-fi sort of stuff. Man, that storm really moved far. That's really odd. Never seen the storm do this sort of thing. I mean, good for them for being creative, but kind of a weird sort of thing to do all the same. Well, we got quite a bit of artwork that we're going to be doing. Pretty soon, it's going to be the main focus again as I try and get the system up and operational. Swap that out. I don't need that. But I noticed something when I was in the process of getting things set up, and it has to do with the horrible setup that Windows 11 has. Windows 11 is... oh, golly. Audio glitches. Deactivate. Activate. I gotta unplug that thing and plug it back in. That is too difficult to work with. Let's see if this works. Okay, deactivate, activate. This has happened before. Capture cards are pretty expensive for a device that doesn't work a whole lot. And I do mean that capture cards have a very bad track record. If you really want to get a good one, you're spending a lot of money. A whole lot of money. You also have to have the right connection for a really high quality version. And I do not have a connection for that. It would have to be an actual video card slot. My video card slot is already taken. I believe it's the 7th. Let me double check the calendar. 10th. Okay, 10th we're going to be having a special stream with Dadman. It'll be a follow-up to the stream from the other day about storytelling. This is a really fascinating subject to me. We've talked about this sort of stuff on this channel quite a bit, but we're getting a chance to kind of do a deep dive over on his channel. So when we get closer, I'll share the link. But this is something that I very much enjoyed and very much look forward to expanding upon it. But I've been thinking about storytelling recently and kind of noticing how many people are... Oh, great. It's doing it again. Deactivate, activate. Looks like it's just going to continue to be a problem. But anyway, storytelling, there's a lot of stories out there that are really, I would say, not worth hearing. And it's a little hard to be able to tell, which stories are going to be that are going to be beneficial for somebody to listen to, and which ones are not. Time will tell. But okay, where are you? Good thing the sound notification for the game visually works, because this delay is really obnoxious. I have to basically unplug it and leave it unplugged for about a minute. That's how I get it back, or at least from what I've experienced. So here's a story that I do not believe is a good one. Hot Rod. That is an awful story. A very wicked story, too. Not a lot of people want to think about things that are wicked as being like, oh, we shouldn't be listening to something because, it's just bad. People want to see things based upon, People want to see something that is going to give them an adrenaline rush. And a story like that gives them an adrenaline rush, but it's not good for them. And I get concerned about stories like that because people like to default to thinking, oh, because it's fun or funny, then somehow it means that it's good. No. And I believe the next generation is going to have some very bad things to say about this generation and our taste in media. No, I'm not talking about the woke people. I'm talking about the people that have stronger ethics. Those folks are going to have a field day with this generation. And believe me, they are going to have some criticisms, and it's going to make the older generation, including my generation, feel embarrassed and foolish. And they're going to lash out in bitterness against that group. But they're going to be in the wrong. The group that calls them out for the moral defects are going to be the ones that are stating a truth. And that, our generation will not listen to that. It will happen. Question is, when will that actually transpire? I don't know. I do not know. But we are getting closer to that moment. In fact, I think it's already begun to change. I've heard people complaining about modern media. And there's two camps. People are complaining, saying, hey, the woke stuff is ridiculous and outlandish. Those people are on the right. But then there's the people that say, hey, you guys are too soft. You can't stand the dark humor that we enjoyed when we were younger. There's something wrong with you. No, I think the people that enjoy the dark humor were the ones in the wrong. Definitely. A half-eaten pizza. Okay, after this round, I'm going to go unplug that thing. That is really annoying to have to keep changing that. Audio cues are so important for games like this. The older I get, the more I'm starting to realize, especially the dark humor, just how very devastating it is. I've seen enough dark humor to know that there's some very, very evil stuff that is out there. And the ones that trivialize life are the worst. And I've seen a little too much of that. There was a TV show years ago. I was younger, and I knew that there's dark stuff out there, but I didn't know to what degree it would go. And I saw something that everybody laughed at, and I looked at, and I was filled with horror. And it was somebody who casually is trying to go about a chore and then accidentally leads to someone and ending someone's life. I looked at that and I was filled with shock and disgust, but other people were laughing mightily, and that was not good. It was not good because what it did was it kind of looked at a life and said a life was only worth a gag, you could say. Maybe I'm reading too much into it? No. No, I just sat and watched as everyone else started to laugh continuously. And the humor got darker and darker. And soon it wasn't just one person that was biting the dust, it was multiple. See, there's something in a youth where something like that suddenly becomes real. And recently I'd seen a lot of people coming back from the front in the war in the Middle East. And I was left with this stark reality that a lot of people that I was seeing would not come back, or at least had the chance of not coming back. And we met many people that did have family members who didn't come back. So when I see people trivializing life, it may sound funny to the people who've never lost something. Now, I've not necessarily lost someone, but I've seen enough people who have lost to have the empathy for people in that position. It's not a bragging right to say you're tough and you're able to, find humor and joy in suffering. No, that's what the people did in Rome for the Colosseum. And even the pagans of Rome said there was something dark and sinister in that. It wasn't the Christians necessarily that had to tell them. They knew in their hearts that something was wrong. I think our sense of what Hollywood has done to us has twisted our values. And we have lost the ability to make wise decisions and to avoid trivial slaughter. Games like this are competition. You're not seeing blood. You're not seeing all sorts of other things. Oh, hey, there's a wabbit. But it's kind of like an arcade. It's not people turn to sparks. It's not trying to glorify the game in order to still have the competition. But there are games out there that do have the glorification of. Oh, he actually squints his eye. That's actually pretty clever. They have the glorification of things that don't need to happen, just so they can get people to cringe, or to get that kind of, I hate to say it, but get that bloodlust high. There's a horrible game that I saw years ago in which it was not just gory, it was infinitely grotesque. And people were watching it and laughing and having fun with it. And I was just thinking, they're glorifying in suffering. It's not, just because something is entertaining doesn't mean it's good. Just because we have digital age doesn't mean that our hearts are, somehow spared by from our longings. There's a kind of an understanding of that. There are certain types of media that cross a line. And typically it tends to be based upon who is being impacted the most. For some people, they think it is going to be something that's pornographic, that's going to be the worst thing that they can experience on media. For other people, they actually say it is violence. And I would say it's both. I think both of them and more technically calls to the desires of the soul for sin. Now, we're going to have longings, but it doesn't mean that we have to let them win. That's why it helps to encourage one another to stand up and to do a better job. Man, that sound is really obnoxious. knocked? How's he just knocked? Oh, he revived. There he goes. Did he have a sword? I do say. There you go. If he has a sword, that is something I would like to get my hands on. Was that him? There we go. He does have a sword. How did he get his hands on a sword? Where did that sword come from? Hey, greetings there, Bastion. How are you doing tonight? Hello, hello, hello. The guy I was chasing earlier. Boxing Bow Bear. Interesting name. Oof. Come back here, buddy. Oh, golly. I want that sword. Bring back the sword. There we go. Sword is mine. Got a week of spring break to enjoy. Oh, very nice. When did they bring the swords back? Oh, golly. Ooh. Oh, it's a victory. How wonderful. Okay, I gotta go unplug that capture card. That the sound was way too difficult to work with. Be right back. Let's see if that fixes things. Also, deactivate and reactivate, just in case. Greetings there, Anna. How are you doing? And Tato. We're not going to be going on for too terribly long in games tonight. We're going to be swapping over to animation here before long. This is me still testing my new system. Trying to figure things out. Just as able. Kind of like the capture card. The capture card's going to be a problem. I don't really want to have to upgrade that. So I'm just going to have to deal with the finickiness of it. But anyway, to go back to what I was kind of talking about. What time is it for you? Yeah, it's mid-evening, 9. So it's quite the change though in our daytime cycle right now, because the sun is starting to shine at all times of day. Like right now, the sun is still up, just barely, and it's still snowy. Alaska got hammered with more snow recently, and it's going to be a late spring. Today was like the first true breath of spring that you could start to feel in the air. For me, it's 12:30. Yep, East Coast, right? Or at least, in that time slot. Yeah, it's a normal. That's a regular problem for being up here in Alaska, is that a lot of the folks that typically are in the country are already in bed by the time you get started streaming. Whereas if you're on like the East Coast and you get started, you can go into all hours of the morning and still have someone there. Anyway, how are things going for you, Anna? Do I add on Fortnite in terms of 1 + 1 = 2? No. I've started locking down the adding people on Fortnite. I had a couple of bad experiences over the last year, and some friends of mine also started having some problems too, so I've started locking it down. Doesn't mean it'll be that way forever, but right now, that's why I went from being called Community Fortnite to Casual Fortnite, because adding people just started becoming a bit of a problem. Not saying everybody's going to be an issue, but we had a couple of problems that happened, and it was because I got careless. So that's a big reason what's going on. The time I usually start watching a stream is 3. Yeah, that makes sense. When you start at usually 10, 11 for streaming up here, it's already early morning for people. We used to have a whole lot of night owls, like a whole lot, to the point of when I actually tried going to a daytime. There was a challenge that started to happen when I tried going to the earlier slot. It started to, I had enough people reach out and say, hey, we want to go back to the old time slot, just because they were all the Night Owl crew, and that was kind of something I didn't expect. So I got my start, you could say, doing the late night talk show, kind of like so many radio shows and whatnot. They usually start at late night. Indeed, Anna. Indeed. Yeah, it was shortly after you joined the stream a while back that I started having the problems with some other folks that suddenly got inspired and they wanted to come around. And 2 people in particular that joined, and it made me realize, okay, nope, I got to pull back and start to be a lot more careful. Because I always start off by saying, okay, we'll start opening things up again, and then suddenly I usually don't vet, and then I end up having to pull a stream down because someone goes crazy. And that happened shortly after last, what was it? The last time was in fall that happened. I don't remember the name of the person. It was somebody that was only around for like 2 streams ever. Where'd that guy go? Oh, there we go. Oh, what a good dog. Something like that. What's your favorite Fortnite season? I'm torn. 3 was the first time I actually started truly playing the game. Chapter 4 was when I actually became a semi-pro, and then the glitches started happening. Chapter 5 was fun, but so much of the game was bugged out for me, I could barely enjoy it. This season, I only just started being able to play it again. Like, last week. Literally, a week ago was when that actually began. Man, it's so weird not having sound. I'm used to having sound as being a cue. Well, I'm tired, so bye. Rest well, Anna. Thanks for stopping by. Hope you have a good chance to recover and attack the day on Saturday. I was 8 when I started playing. Now I'm 15. Dandy. I was not allowed to play online games until I was in my, well, basically until I was in college. Even so, I didn't really do it a whole lot until years later. I would play on like LAN parties or whatnot, but not like online until I graduated. Low on fuel? That's a problem. There's a lot of folks I know in their 40s that play this game. It's kind of weird feeling, actually. Darn, out of fuel. But it's so weird. I started playing this game when I was in my early 30s. There are people that start playing in their mid-40s. And I don't really think it's beneficial for them. But there are some people where they really do have like good, strong communities that start to form out of it. And at first I was like, yeah, I'm not really a fan of that. Then I realized, you know what? It's becoming like a friendly place for people to gather, kind of like the olden days when people used to gather around and play checkers. So my opinion changed. And then I started realizing, you know, I probably need to get into it. Not because I'm trying to like be a pro gamer or whatnot, but it's because I realized it was the community aspect, a way to catch up with people, just like being around the checker table. Hey, greetings there, Freddy. Yeah, for the time being, the right now it's just open to people who have been friends on Fortnite for a while. So it's there's a couple people that sometimes jump in. Last night we had West, for example, and So right now I'm just kind of doing it casually. It's not like I have any real distinct plan. But I am limiting it to people I've known for a while, which technically you fall under that, so. God, how long have I known you, Freddie? Now I'm starting to think about it. It's been 3 years now? It's amazing how long some of these online connections have lasted. Hey, greetings there, Rico. How are you doing, sir? How goes the new career? Darn, that audio's glitching again. Oh. Anonymous. Oh, golly. See, this is why the sound helps, because I couldn't hear that guy shooting me while I was looking at the chat. Well, there's no changing that. I'm not sure how I'm going to go about doing that. I think what I have to do is every time I do the capture card, I need to unplug it, set it aside, and just leave it for the evening. Sub-teaching is pretty chill, Dandy. Rule number 1, don't be distracted by chat. Well, I'm not a pro gamer, so I wouldn't know anything about that. No, I got this close to being able to do pro gaming. This close. And I saw enough people have problems with it to where I pulled back. I was like, nope. Not doing this. Please rate how much you agree or disagree. Rift anomalies are fun. More fun than not. Not necessarily great. I did find many friends because of Fortnite, and certain streamers and YouTubers I used to watch. Indeed. It's amazing how the how communities grow like that. But it's also amazing when things go wrong. Sometimes you have people that make a good, strong impression, and years later, well, usually months, it doesn't get to years. Months later, you find out that, you know, they're messed up. All right, this time we're keeping our eyes semi-glued to the screen. This is going to be a longer stream tonight. I'm going to have a break period later on, and that will be when we're doing the animation portion. So there's going to be the gaming, there's going to be a little bit of animation, there's going to be a break, and then there's going to be more animation. So we're going to go for a long stream today. Man, the audio is so weird. Well, I started piecing together the talk that we're going to have with Dadman in on the 10th of April. It's going to be the talk about storytelling and the loss of it, in particular for Disney. It's going to be a very important discussion, and one that I wish people would have more of. Because a lot of people can complain through, you know, when they see Disney messing things up. We're going to go over the pros and cons of what's gone on and ways that they can improve. thing's pretty powerful at close range. Not playing with Wes Cagle today. Wes Cagle comes and goes with the wind, and so it's up to him if he wants to join. But no, there's not like a plan. I don't know everyone's schedule. That's one of the challenges of being in Alaska. You don't know what people's schedules are, and we used to have all sorts of regulars that used to join in on the games. Life got busy, and so thus they don't have the time that they spend with us as much anymore. But neither do I. I don't play this game a whole lot, so it's not like everyone's like, oh yeah, that's this is the time of day when Alaska Jeff is going to be streaming Fortnite. No, those days are past. This is a rare week. Well, that was interesting. Not really the most, maybe the effective way to go about that. How to fix, wait a minute. How to fix that is, we live on the moon, or we have to be in the same time zone? Oh, yeah. Yeah, time zones are finicky. Man, that audio. But that does remind me, there was a couple of folks I used to play with all the time. I got started joining other people's streams. And it's unfortunate to think I can't go back to some of those streams. It's frustrating because I'm a genuine sort of guy. I really don't like trying to play up the gimmick side of streaming. And so when I see people that are not genuine and not understanding, like, hey, you have a kind of a role in providing a good experience for people that's wholesome and, not problematic. A lot of people really don't seem to understand the importance of that. It's weird teleport. This area down here is not really beneficial. How do we get up here? Bingo. Time to go punching. There we go. Elimination. I think it's a pretty powerful ability. Same time zone. Have you ever played a Resident Evil game? No, and nor will I. There's something dark about that game, and the more I've seen it, the more I really don't like it. It harkens to something that I very much am troubled by, and that's a sense of the devaluing of life. I say as I eliminate a character. But yeah, that's a story that I probably need to tell someday. Not right now, but that's a story I need to probably explore. Maybe we'll touch upon it with the storytelling stream. No, actually, that gets to really heavy stuff. I better not do that. We'll figure a time to do that in the future. All right, have fun, Jeff. Great to see you again. Same to you, Freddie. Have a good night, sir. See you next time. Hope you find success. Stay productive. Oh, I don't have a long-range weapon anymore. How did I miss that? There we go. Oh, come on. Stop sliding. Oh, no. What the? Oh. Greetings there, Dadman, who says, have a good stream. Have good, safe travels, sir. Hope you have fun when you're out there in the wilderness. Go make friends with a coyote. Low-key played Minecraft one day. Yeah, I've had many people mention that. That's a possibility. Although the gaming sides kind of came to an end a while back. Not that I wouldn't do it, it's more like I have to find a good reason to. Jeff Craft. You know, it's kind of what 3D animation is kind of like. You're doing artwork in the 3D space, kind of similar to Minecraft. The only difference is you can use it for short films that never seem to come out. Ah, dagnabbit. That is going to change here. Now that I have my system set up, I now have the ability to start doing rendering and actually get some of the stuff out there. This summer, I'm going to do a lot of different projects, trying to get them to work. But right now, the majority of my time has been put onto written projects. And I want the things I make to leave a lasting impact. And there's some things out there that I really, 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 really want to try and make happen. And I don't know if it's going to be possible. Not at this point. Too much time has passed. And not a lot of progress has happened. It's kind of an important thing to remember. Just because you have a dream doesn't mean it's actually going to come about. Years ago, I got this plaque right here from Disney. If you can dream it, you can do it. It was a saying he used to have. And I saw this plaque and I thought, you know what? I want to remember that. Well, I spent a lot of time dreaming. I spent a lot of time growing my skills. I spent a lot of time troubleshooting. Don't demand someone else to do what you yourself are not willing to do. You know what I learned? Just because you can dream it doesn't mean it's good. Sometimes you dream something and it's not meant to happen. And if you fight for it and try and make it happen regardless, you may be surprised that it doesn't go so well. There were many times, I would say there's probably about 4 or 5 times where things should have taken off. I say should have because they didn't. And I learned in the process, just because you want it to happen, just because you're prepared for it, doesn't mean others are going to see it in the same way. I just destroyed the camping site for Dadman and the missus. I was looking for Bigfoot. You should still dream, but you should be willing to do what God wants you to do, first and foremost. If he wants you to be successful, he'll make it happen. If he doesn't, there might be a very good reason. Well, not might. There is a very good reason why it doesn't happen. This season kind of fits a Alaska vibe. It kind of does, doesn't it? You landed in Alaska. Yep, nice and frosty. And Anga's not prepared for this cold weather. Learning how to ride as well. Yeah. Oh, yeah, indeed. Whoa, golly. Why did that happen? That could have been really, really bad. So let me explain a little bit more about this concept. Because I think we don't appreciate this enough. There are people in this world that will fight tooth and nail to find success. Nothing in the world is going to stop them. Those people many, many, many times find success, and they're bitter about it. Despite getting exactly what they wanted, it was not enough. And they don't realize it until it's kind of too late. It's more important to do what you are meant to do. Meaning, if it's meant to happen, God will make it happen. I do believe that. I also believe that there are many times where we start to want something so much, it starts to become almost like it is kind of like a deity to us. We have to achieve it. And it's very discouraging when suddenly it doesn't happen. And then we start to lash out, not realizing we were the ones that messed things up. Are you a Christian, if you mind my asking? We talk about everything and anything and everything around here. I am indeed Christian, and very strongly, with a very strong belief. Doesn't mean I'm perfect, doesn't mean I'm a pastor or anything like that, but it does mean I'm somebody who's trying to live out the faith as best as I can. Kind of like the Christians of old. They didn't necessarily have to have necessarily a ministry that they were in charge of, not to be like, in charge of oh, hey there, buddy. Oh, you're just a bot. Okay. I'm just trying to live it out based upon what I see I'm supposed to be doing. I want to try and be as genuine as possible. Then we start blaming God because we don't get what we ask. If God is indeed not a genie. Yes, we start to blame God when really it's ourselves that we have to blame. He's sparing us. And he is indeed not a genie. He gives us what we need, not what we want. Here's an example. Years ago, I came this close to finding very high success. This close. I was being prepared for a very important role. I was in the process of getting multiple YouTube channels set up. We were in the process of planning out storylines that people were going to be working with. And I thought I was off to the races. Or at least was hopeful that I was off to the races. I felt very providentially placed there. And I started thinking this must be God's will. Obviously, this all started to happen. It has to be. Well, you know what happened a couple of months later? It all came to an end. Now, was it God's will that I be there? Or was it God's will that I left? You know, it can be both. When I was there, I learned a whole lot. It was not time wasted. I came away with a very strong understanding of what the insides of the industry was like, and it disgusted me. Sometimes things happen and things go wrong because you're being spared from a greater, worse outcome. Some other people did not get spared, and I watched from a distance as things fell apart for them. I was spared. They were not. The dream's not dead, but it only exists if it is beneficial. You'll find a story written on castercraft.net. It is the story of what I learned over the last couple of years. The realization that you don't get what you want. And you are not building yourself. You are being built for great things. You won't understand what they are right now, nor should you. Because if you did, you might mess up horribly. We are kept in the dark, not because God wants us to be in the dark. It's because he knows that we many times make horrible mistakes in our pursuits, and he's sparing us those consequences by shaping us into a different tool than what we ourselves would choose. The story that you will find on the website is Pharaoh and the Smith. And that is going to be turned into a video later on this summer, in which it will be a dramatic reading. I just need the time to sit down and do it. Because some people want to read, other people just want to listen. And I can see a benefit to people wanting to listen. So I'm going to try and do a legit audio recording of it, have it as a kind of like an audio drama, enough to where hopefully it will convey the message clearly and people can really start to get a lot out of it. But you can currently read that right now, but you will get to hear it later on this year verbally. Well, in video form, verbally. The big important thing is not to grow bitter. And bitterness is it's very easy to slip into bitterness. It's very easy to slip into envy. It's very easy to slip into longing. And there's good things to long for. There's good things to desire. But there's an awful lot of things that we shouldn't long for and shouldn't desire. Trying to figure out what those are does become a challenge. That's why it's important to maintain your faith first and foremost. Joy will start to come about by doing what is right, not doing what you enjoy the most. If I enjoy gaming, for example, it doesn't mean that's good. Now, it can be good, but it doesn't mean that it is inherently good just because I enjoy it. That's a tough one for a lot of people in our age to start to understand. When you ask, you do not receive because you asked with wrong motives. Ooh, I'm getting shot at. Elimination. Ugh, car blew up. Then you may. Oh golly! I'm in trouble. I am just barely alive. Okay. That was really surprising. That you may spend what do you get on your pleasures. James 4:3. Indeed. The wrong motivations change everything. good to have that spiritual background. The word doesn't necessarily guarantee... Well, a lot of people also treat Scripture like it is somehow fortune cookies. They treat God like a genie. They treat Scripture like fortune cookies. You have to read it all, not just a few verses. And when you start to understand that, you start to be able to see beyond yourself and your own desires. Kind of similar to what James was talking about. We start asking and we start demanding, like, hey, we want it because, we think it's good for us. Not realizing that, what we want may be the exact opposite. We do not see the future, but God can. There's not a lot of people left around here. I gotta find me some shield. Have I been baptized? You're also Christian? Excellent. I have been. I was baptized at the age of 15. Same as yourself right now. And while I had been baptized when I was a little kid, I realized that I needed to make it my own. See, there's something to be said for understanding the role that we play in embracing the faith for ourselves. There's a guy that I know, he okay, I gotta change the audio again. There we go. Hopefully that works. There's a guy who I know from a while back. He was trying to get his faith in order, but at the same time he was saturating himself with streamer fame. It didn't go so well. I hope he has some success in the future, and that he's able to escape some of the challenges he's encountered. We'll have to see what happens. Have a good night, Jeff. These kids from school got me tired at night now. Indeed. Rest well, Rico. Hope you have some good success with teaching. And see you next time, whenever that is. Where'd he go? Park. Where'd he go? There you are. Oh, that was so close. That was close, 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 close. Okay, let's swap things out here. Do not stay here for very long. Leave the crown behind. I need shield again. Health and shield in this game has gotten a lot harder as of late. I will say, though, that there's one thing that not a lot of Christians do as much as they should, and that is to read the scripture for themselves. Last couple of years, I'm really starting to realize how very important that is. Because there's a lot of people that are not doing it at all. Oh. Uh-oh. Oh, golly. Oh, no. Oh, no. Oh, no. This is not good. Not good at all. Come back here, you yahoo. Hello again, Anna. How are you doing? Unable to rest. Hope you get the win. Well, you know, if the win's meant to happen, it'll happen. Otherwise, you know what? It was still enjoyable while it lasted. Where'd you go? Try and hide in there, would you? I'm so used to hearing the enemy. To look for visual cues is so very hard for me to do. I think after this round we'll go to 3D animation. Where are they? Wow, this thing stays up a long time. Oh, there we go. Oh, no. Hello. No, 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 no. Oof. Oh, that was most unfortunate. That was close. Oh, the kicking boogie. So sophisticated. Okay, we're going to 3D. This sound is getting too difficult to work with. Oh, golly. Okay. Oh, I forgot to check the eliminations. Oh, well. Okay, going to 3D. Close out of this. And 3D. Close that. There we go. Okay. Good try. Yeah. Close enough. That last bit, I needed some extra shield. I did not do that smartly. I should have instead used the weapon from the air to break the ceiling open and then dive on in. But yeah, close enough. All right, so where were we? We're in the process of getting this character up and operational. Skull Potter says, hey, streamer, I stream too. I have already helped about 200 other rumblers and have helped me so they can help each other build in a blah, 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 blah. We do genuine stuff around here. We don't focus on streaming gimmicks, pointless partnerships, and promotionals. I'm down to earth, about as down to earth as you are ever going to find on a stream. So, good day. All right, so we get the yawn. He sees the fish. He sees the fish hook go by, and he looks. And at that point, what happens next? Let's see here. So we got to get eventually to the point of where it comes by again, and then he takes a bite out of it. And why is he facing that way? Normally, his face was supposed to be facing towards the camera with a stupid look on it. Okay. Oh, yeah, it's because it's locked onto that empty over there. That's why it's happening. All right, come over here and grab that. And
we want to disable it at this point. Never read the Bible, says Jersey, as I was listening to it every Sunday for most of my life. In Catholic Church, they read part of the Bible every sermon, so I felt like I read it a billion times, even though I never opened it truly. Do they ever do that in Protestant churches too? In Protestant churches, they have there's this tradition that actually gets handed down from really the founders of the Protestant churches, to open up the Bible and read for yourself. Not because somehow you're going to usually get any special revelation necessarily from what another teacher is going to be able to have, but God doesn't speak to us in the form of prophets like he used to back in the day. He speaks to us through the way that he has already spoken to us everything that needed to be conveyed in the form of his scriptures. It's important for us to read and find out what it is that's said. The reason why is because there's actually a lot of areas that churches will avoid. I'm actually really shocked. I was reading through it just the other day, and I came across passages that, despite being in churches for 35 plus years, I never heard it before. And I've read the Bible before. How did that happen? Because it is what we call a living word, meaning that there are things that are kept for special revelation to be revealed in their appropriate time. You can read the same passage over and over and over again, and it will be on the 100th time that you suddenly still will find something new. It is fascinating, but that's why you're supposed to both listen and read yourself. Now, Christians throughout history did not have that access, but they would have been doing it every moment that they had if they did have access. We don't necessarily have the time for that, but that's one of the reasons why it's important to hide it in our hearts. When we read it, or when we listen to it, it needs to transform us. If it's not, then we're not really truly taking it in and perceiving it. We're hearing, but not perceiving. That sort of thing. If I was to say there's one thing that I wish I had done more of when I was growing up, it would have been theological debate. I wish we would have done that more when I was growing up, because there's some tough passages, ones that leave you in confusion and sometimes with frustration. And that's why it's important to have those discussions, so you can start to weed through and figure out what the truth is. That's why it's important for people in your own community to continue to read, because you may be encountering something that the church down the way is not encountering. 100 years ago, the whole sermon was in Latin, so I don't know how they even knew what the Bible is about. That's actually one of the big reasons why the Protestant church came about. Martin Luther, Wycliffe, and Tyndale all had this belief that people needed to read the Bible in their own tongue. And they looked at the book of Acts as a reason as to why. Because each of the people that heard the message heard it in their own language. That is the gift of speaking in tongues. Early on, that was very important. Nowadays, it's not as important because now there is a lot of ways to translate. The miracle is not required in the way that it once was. But it still does happen on the rare occasion. But now we do have access to it. That's one of the reasons why a lot of people, even in the Church of England, they didn't read. They're like, well, it's written in our language. Why would we bother reading it? And then years later, people look back and they're like, oh my goodness, we are messing up. See, usually when the times are good, we don't want to read. We don't turn to God. It's when times go bad that we do. It doesn't mean that, that nobody's seeking God in the good times. It just means the number of people that are doing it are greatly reduced. It's one of the reasons why persecution exists. It's a reminder to wake us up out of our slumber so we avoid worse problems in the future. All right, gonna go get my rest. See you, Bastion. Have a good night. See you next time, whenever that is. 200 years ago, most people didn't even read. Yes, that is indeed quite the conundrum. To read is, at least in some parts of the world, is still rare. In English in Germanic cultures, it was not. People started reading basically from the 1400s, and reading became very, very common. It's one of the reasons why here in the U.S., it was so very important to get people literate, because a lot of people were like, well, how are they going to read the scriptures? And then second off, how are they going to be able to understand the laws of their country? But it was the motivation, and it did well for them. Peasants too? Yes. And that's the real surprising thing. There was a lot of peasants that were quite literate. Now, it wasn't as common depending on the country you were in. As I understand, France was a little bit more difficult, but part of it was that their languages was more difficult. But it didn't mean that the peasants didn't read. People in Scotland and Ireland had a really hard time reading. People in Norway and Scandinavia, it was kind of forbidden to read. But it was a carryover from their pagan past. Over in China, only the scribes could have read. In Japan, everybody read, including the women. It depends on where you were, what culture you grew up in. In England, people were expected to have at least a basic understanding of reading, all the way back from, really, I think it was the 1200s? Maybe? Sounds correct. I shall away to take mine. I shall return to thy stream anew. Shouldn't thou yet be live? Shouldst thou yet be live? I should have read that in my proper Old English. I'm going to take a shower and then tune back into the stream. All right. See you then. Shouldst thou be alive? Or shouldst thou be live? We need good old-fashioned English. It's kind of hard to pronounce. It used to be a lot easier for me, but not as much anymore. Okay, so guy looks over and okay, how about this be the end of this shot right here? Then we see a shot of the hook just zipping on through the water off into the distance. That'll actually be pretty good. So he's going to look over it. That will give us a break. Zip. And this is where that scene ends. So let's add a marker. Change that to... Now we're going to come back to... Actually, let's do it like this here. We need a hook to be out there, and my hook rig is not very good. I'm going to have to replace it. Fish line 1. Which one is it? All right, there's fish line 1. There's fish line 2. That one has the worm on it. And it does have a bone system. Okay. That is the one we're going to go with. One of the things that I do find kind of fascinating about faith is what happens when you're tested. Everyone's going to have doubts in their life. But there's a point where the doubts are challenged and you're left with the realization that, well, now you're going to have to embrace the faith and make it your own. No one can make it for you. That is where it's your role to try and make. Now, everybody is called. Some are called, you could say, a little bit easier than others. Some people are called with very tough life challenges. Paul was one of those people. He was called, and he resisted a bit. There's other people I know they've resisted. But one of the big things about reading the scriptures for yourself is you get a chance to understand what your own challenges are. You can start to wrestle with them. When I was younger, I had a lot of very tough questions I was trying to figure out. And it wasn't until the age of 15 that I actually even was able to start understanding what I was wrestling with. Age 15 to 18 was a tough span of life. Zip. Whoa. He looks on over. In my country, it all depends on which occupation zone they were in. For example, in the 1900s, 50% of the people could read in German occupation zone, but only 5% in Russian occupation. There was no Poland for 100 years prior, so they were treated as a colony inside Europe. And some occupation zones had easier than others. Yeah, that's a tough one. I know that a lot of Europe had very, very different experiences. It's fascinating to realize it's kind of a unified continent now, but it was very, very, very fractured for much of history. Golly, there were like 50 kingdoms in England alone, and in Germany there was hundreds. Some of them were the size of a postage stamp, it seemed. Zip. Okay. Gonna move that over here. We want to look just shortly after it disappears. Actually, wait a minute. So it's there. You get 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Actually, wait a minute. It should be when the eyes open. Yawn. Whoop. Whoop. Okay, there we go. That's much better timing. How long is the animation going to be? I don't know. The original animation was like a minute. I think it's already scheduled to surpass that. This animation is old. But in 24 frames? Yep, 24 frames. Yep, 24. I debated moving it up to 48, but no, 24. It's so when I did this animation, I was just getting started. I had the YouTube channel good to go, and I had this animation good and ready, and then an update happened, and the project became corrupted. Last week, I was able to salvage it. It took years to wait for that to be salvageable. And now I'm in the process of refining it, making it better. And in the process, I ended up kind of animating most of it again. So the original one was about a minute. There was some areas that just didn't quite work out that well. And I'm hoping to avoid some of the problems I was encountering back then. Okay, so here's the dangling. Good. But it's in the wrong area. Let's pull up the... What is this? It's the X. Isolate this. It would take me 5 days to render 1 minute animation cycles. Do you have any predictions how long it could take you? Well, that's one of the reasons why I kind of wanted to do this, because I remember what it would have taken back on my old setup. It would have taken me an estimated 2 days with the quality of animation I'm going to be rendering it as. Maybe longer, maybe 4 days. But on the new machine, I don't know. It's a mystery to me. So, I can't predict, because I've yet to see the full capabilities of this new machine. Oh, it's Y that I was looking for. Why? Okay, move this on up. Right there. Floats into view. He smells it. And then it's going to lean on out. Let's keyframe it here. Duplicate and move it on over there. And delete that keyframe. So it pulls on in. Just floating. Actually, no, it's going to come from above. So let's get it right here. Okay, we're going to keyframe it. And everything beforehand, gone. Because that was old animation. And it wasn't even all that good either. Now we're going to pull it on up. Why is it reversed like that? Oh, that's because there's this. There's the target. Okay, so we want to grab everything before that target and delete it. Comes in here, and then we have to ease it out. So just move it ever so slightly. This is a terrible rig, by the way. But I don't have many options just yet. Hey, welcome back, Todd. Great idea. Hopefully it turns out well. I'm gonna have to redo that rig. This will just be the stand-in for the time being. Oh my goodness, look at that ridiculousness. Okay. Gonna delete those. Just wiggling over, and then it's gonna move off to the side. What's actually crazy, we've been learning about Shakespeare and Romeo and Juliet for 2 weeks already. 2 weeks to learn about Romeo and Juliet from Shakespeare. Let's play for water illusion, blue fog, post effect. So I've actually already done that during an early test. It's a combination of mist effect and also some lighting effects, or fake in the water. I tried doing like realistic looking water. It looked awful. So we're going with kind of a cartoony sort of water. Realism doesn't always work out. Yeah, we're going to have to redo that animation entirely with a new rig. That will come later on. Right now, I just want to block out this whole animation for the hook and focus primarily on the fish. Okay, so we come to the end there, end shot. And so what we're going to do is we're going to put up a little indicator. This is nothing more than a way to try and see when the end of a shot is over. Move back one, down. So now we come over to the video editor and we come through this, and notice now we have that, so we know where to cut. Move that up, and we're going to go back to this scene of underwater. Nope, I didn't mean to do that. I meant to go about this other way. For here. And now we're going to get another camera. And reposition this. now we come in here, and we're going to tie this to this one called In Shot. No, I didn't mean to do that. Okay, let's come over here. In Shot. There we go. So now it will see it as it's zipping off. And because it's further away, we're going to put it right there. It'll be going off into the open plain here. Do you have a favorite quote from Shakespeare? Yeah. A favorite quote from Shakespeare. You know, for whatever reason, the first thing that popped into my mind. Do you know what Gilligan's Island is? A scene from that popped into my head first and foremost. It's the quote of "Be there a borrower, nor a lender be." I won't say it's my favorite, but I will say it was the most comical retelling of it. Now, actually, I think some of the philosophic soliloquies were the most impactful to me. Yes, okay, you probably know when they had when they made the musical of what was it? They made the Shakespeare musical. Oh, I don't remember. It's been a while. It has indeed been a while. My experience with Shakespeare has used to be much higher than it is now. There's a lot of stories out there to try and become familiar with. I gotta say, I've not been as up to date as I used to be. I used to be able to quote all sorts of stuff from Shakespeare. I used to work in the theater department, and we learned a lot of stuff about Shakespeare. One of my more favorite stories, though, of Shakespeare was oh golly, let's see here. What was the title of the play? No, duh. Henry V. So I had to do a retelling of Henry V in a different setting. And that was one of the challenges. I had to make a set for it. I had to have planned out how it was going to happen. And then I built the set in miniature form. And that was a lot of fun. But I also learned a lot about the story. Oh, you only watch the first season. There's 3 seasons. It's a good series. I used to watch all the reruns when I was growing up. Other people were watching cartoons from the modern day. All I did was watch reruns. It's a lot more sensible. There was a lot of dark stuff in the 90s. There's a lot of horrible things that the 90s was making. And I am so very glad those shows are no longer being made. But they still exist in some ways. They've just changed platforms. But it wasn't nearly as bad as what the late 80s and 90s were dealing with. Now it's just kind of weirder. But there's a lot of really dark demonic stuff that was starting to come out. I was not a fan. So then we would turn on the reruns and watch, Gilligan's Island when other people of my generation were watching Rugrats. Can't say that I was disappointed or anything. Old shows would creep me out. Ah, interesting. So I grew up with a lot of old shows. In my mind, I actually believed that I was growing up in the world of the 1940s, based upon the media I was watching. When I got back to the country, because I was a military kid, I suddenly realized I wasn't living in the 40s. I wasn't living in the 50s. I was living in the modern day. I learned that when I was still a kid, but I remember the shell shock. The world was not as, you could say, black and white as it was kind of painted back then. Good and evil were harder to identify. Evil was on the rise. 90s was an incredible era. It left a taste in your mouth, a sound in your ears, a feeling that's hard to shake. Most people that lived in the 90s, it has become a painful moment. And because we saw what the world could have been like, we saw the potential. We were in an age of hope. It did not last very long. The Twin Towers were attacked, and instead of being outside with your friends, you were being hustled inside. Children that you knew started to become afraid. Rather than wanting to go outside and spend time with you, they would become locked behind closed doors, kind of like I am now. The world went dark during that day. It has never been the same since. It's hard for people that never experienced that to fully comprehend how good those times were. We who were living in that time era, had no idea. It was normal. There was, opportunities. Dreams felt achievable. Community felt strong. Then all of a sudden, it wasn't. Fascinating. It's been a little hard for me over the last couple of years to start to revisit some of that. Because as you start to become older, that stuff starts to haunt you. Nostalgia is an interesting word. It's a painful memory for a time long past that you'll never see again. If I could impart one thing to the next generation, it would be hope. Hope that things can start to turn around. We can live in a painful memory. We can live with the idea that the world will only get worse. Or we can try and make the world better for the next generation. If that's one thing my generation can do, it would be that. And sadly, so many of them are not. It's good to understand trouble, but it becomes bad if we don't allow it to transform us for the better. And man, there are a lot of people in this world that are just kind of happy with things being bad without trying to find ways to improve. Getting way too local in here. I guess that's one way to put it. Greetings to Jacob. How you doing? This has been a really good stream. Much appreciated, Tato. Try to be down to earth around here. Trying to impart something of merit rather than, normal adrenaline stuff or, standard stream stuff. This is one of the reasons why a lot of people would tune into the streams back in the day. They would tune in just to fall asleep. Okay, so we go from here. Fish line is pulled. Okay. Wait a minute. Oh yeah. Fish line is pulled. It zips by. So this one is going to be up on top of the surface when you see the hands pulling on the reel. That could probably be a little bit longer. Actually, that could absolutely be longer. Let's come back here. Okay, let's start off just by blocking out the time. We want to extend this 1 full second, 24 frames. Then we want to move forward 24 frames plus 24. Move that on over. And now grab this, and at the pinnacle of the yawn, you're just going to extend that. So grab everything afterwards and move it forward 24 frames. Oh. Yawn. Okay. Grab the eyes. Same thing. Come to the point where it's shut right there. Grab everything afterwards and then move forward 24 frames. Yawn. Whoop. Okay, just look on over. And finally, this one right here. We want from this point onward, move forward 20. Oh, that's way too many. 24 frames. Yawn, zip, look over, and huzzah. Okay, that was easy. I'm from the Meadow Lakes area, and I was going through random live streams, and this one popped up. Would you mind sort of explaining to me all about yourself and your channel and your passions? Well, here's a quick rundown. I got started streaming years ago by mistake. Someone showed up to a stream that I was preparing for some YouTubers, trying to figure out some techniques, and the streams got started because I suddenly got raided by a whole lot of people, and so I was off to the races. I didn't seek this stuff out, but in the process, I learned that there is a benefit to having wholesome content online. Not necessarily the most exciting stuff, but the ones where you can go and learn something or be inspired. Hear something from a value from the past maybe got forgotten, or a piece of history, philosophy, theology. My goal is to talk about anything and everything, but with the perspective of transformation of culture as found through faith. I do art, I do games. I'm trying to get a small media company figured out eventually, God willing. So I write, I animate in the whole gamut. Hopefully one day there will be a string of small projects that people can look at and read and be inspired to allow to help transform their life so they can start to be a blessing to their community. And in doing so, do something that, well, that everyone has forgotten: to care about your neighbor and to show civility. That is your rundown. And hopefully you find something to merit around here, and for whatever time you spend around here. And I also ramble like there's no tomorrow. Some people that's great. For other people, it bores them to death. So I will say that. Me casually watching the stream while eating the best ice cream. The best ice cream? What would count as the best ice cream? Now, flip it around, though. What sort of stuff do you do, Jacob? Timberlake. That's a popular type of ice cream. I used to get free Blue Bunny ice cream because there was a factory close to where I went to school at one point. I don't know if it's even there anymore. But we would always get like all this free ice cream, and it was not necessarily the best quality. They were like, "Oh, just send the reject stuff to the kids. The college students will eat it." Okay, so now should we look back at the character like this? I mean, that's kind of a dumb face. Might want to change that. Nope, wrong button. There, that's a little bit better looking. Peanut butter, you got a favorite? You know, when I think about ice cream, I'm actually deeply influenced by my time in Germany. I like Italian ice, and I want Italian ice that is Zitron und Schokolade. That is the best combo. Basically, lemon and chocolate. 2 scoops side by side. You eat the chocolate first, and you end with the lemon. A wonderful, delicious mixture. I'm trying to become an indie manga artist. I'm 17 and used to be one of the people that hated anime and manga. I read a few good ones, and I got hooked. Now I want to make them myself. Indeed. Hope you find some good success with that. I tried to get into drawing manga and anime. I understood the basics, but I found that it was a little difficult. But you know what's really neat is that it's one of the only art forms that you can truly do from start to finish by yourself without outside help at a fairly fast pace. Do you have a portfolio that you want to share? That is open to you if you want to try and do that. I don't know if that works in terms of sharing links, but you can give it a try. I don't even know if I set it up correctly, even if that was the case. What's the cube in the middle of the mouth in the middle of the fish? Main parent? It is indeed. That is the So typically you want to have a different shape. I didn't bother with that, so that is the one that moves the entirety of the fish. But you'll notice there's another one here. By the way, this was one of my very first rigs, so it's not very well put together. There's another one for the eyes. It's 2 rigs in one. And so as such, I'm able to do things with the eyes that would probably be a little bit more difficult than if they were, you know, attached. Actually, I kind of like it being a little bit skewed like that. Let's hide this. And let's hide this for the time being. We don't need that reference anymore. How do you spell that German ice? So, over here in the US, we typically would refer to it as sorbet. Now, Italian sorbet is typically what people would associate as Italian ice. Ice is spelled E-I-S, if I remember right. It's been a while since I've had to spell it. Yes, it is E-I-S. See, I knew that several years of taking German was going to pay off. I miss Germany, especially the old Germany. The modern Germany is quite different. Oh, I forgot that's the worm rig that's not properly moving along, so I knew there's a reason why that was there. All right, let's cut back to the main camera again at this point. But for this, we're going to actually change this. This is shot 1. And now we're going to duplicate this, and this is going to be shot 4. And we're probably going to rename these cameras afterwards. Just because I have a sneaking suspicion we're going to have to do something about that. Okay, we're going to make a new marker right here, and we're going to parent this camera there. And then it's going to come back. The hook's going to come back, but not immediately. It's going to come back around here. And right, so we need a little bit of time for the hook to turn back around without causing a motion blur problem. The flavor you were talking about, citron. So, let's see here. Zitrone. German for lemon, it is spelled Z-I-T-R-O-N-E. Very, very good. Man, I do miss that flavor. I don't like manga style much, as the characters look all the same to me. Same faces, hairstyle, eyes, color, says Jersey. Or at least that was my first experience, as I never watched anything besides Pokemon. But I learned drawn human anatomy with anime tutorials. Indeed. Have you tried spaghettis? They look... it looks like it is good. So if you're talking about spaghetti ice, the ice cream version of spaghetti, it's actually really good. It's vanilla squeezed out so it looks like spaghetti, and then you take a strawberry sauce and drizzle it over the top. Very tasty. Then they take white chocolate shavings and put it on top. very appropriate. That Italian ice, that would be like such a famous thing, and you know, it's pasta in Italia. Goes well together. Yeah, Zitron is very good looking. Very, very tasty. It's very much natural flavors. So they take actual lemons. A lot of things here in the U.S., for example, we use flavoring. We don't use actual thing. If you get lemon ice cream here in the U.S., there's a very high chance that they're taking lemon concentrate and they're dripping drops from a vial into the ice cream. Over in Europe, they take actual lemons, shave off the sides of the lemons, put that into the lemon ice cream, and it tastes delicious. The real thing tastes better. I am so glad over the last couple of years, we in this country have started to become familiar with how important it is to have good health. Because you know what? It tastes better. It tastes infinitely better. I still remember like when fast food tasted good. It was not that long ago. Sure, was it perfect? No. It had its problems. But you know, it wasn't as awful as it is now. There is a lot of problems with the current food industry. And one of those things is that they just flavor, right? They put flavors into everything. And they don't even bother to put the real thing. There were some people, they were trying, what was it? I think it was strawberries. And I'm like, what is the flavor? You know, like, that's strawberry. No, it's not, because they're used to the candy flavor of strawberry. It surprised them. You know? The real stuff actually makes that stuff healthy for you. Let's put it this way. Here in the US, if you eat pizza every day, you get fat, you get unhealthy, you get greasy. I saw somebody when I was at college who ate pizza for every meal, every day. He was unhealthy. He was not super overweight, which was kind of odd, but he was greasy. And he had an odor about him that started to appear because of it. If you had a German pizza, or a French pizza, or an Italian pizza, you've had actually good food. You could have that every day and you would be healthy. You'd be just fine and dandy. But the moment you start putting all the fake stuff in, it loses its health benefits. It stops being food and starts becoming processed garbage. I miss good, healthy food. And thankfully, our culture is starting to realize, you know, we kind of want to have that stuff back. I got to go to Germany someday. Have a passport. It's quite the experience. Although I will say, Europe's not the same like what it used to be. Like, I remember a very different Europe than what it is now. There are still good parts of Europe, don't get me wrong. But it's not quite what it used to be. In Germany, for example, you used to be able to go in to a town and you would hear bells ringing on the hour. It was beautiful. The sound floated through the air. There was a smell of baked goods everywhere. The smell of freshly cut wood. There was wood fires. You could hear the occasional. You could hear the either animals in the distance or the sound of the bells of cattle as they're walking through the area. Now, it's replaced by the sound of engines. It's replaced by the sound of foreign speakers that are not German. The sound of the bells have started to go silent. Germany is gone, at least the Germany that I grew up in. There are still pockets of Germany that are just fine. They're still there. They're still vibrant and alive. But it's not like it used to be. Kind of going back to nostalgia. I was looking at something from Germany back in the day, and it started to get incredibly sad because I remembered what it was like. The sound, the smell, the taste. And it's gone. The place I grew up, gone. I contributed 40% of the 100 messages from the Restream chat. Success. Yeah, we don't get that award very often. Not very often at all. I need to get myself some more water. We're into the process of going on to turning the fish's head to the other side, so we'll deal with that in just a moment. I need to take a quick break. I'll be right back. All right. Let's see here. My local pizza place in town won first place in the Neapolitan pizza place in the world. Ooh. It was so random as I only remember them having the biggest pizza, and now suddenly it's a big attraction. Ooh, very nice. Neapolitan pizza is like the old, light, traditional Italian pizza. That sounds actually very delicious. Oven-baked pizzas are, top-notch. Went to get some water, too. I like it ice cold. Yes, indeed. Being in Alaska, you get very familiar with things being cold. Anything above 80 degrees becomes boiling. By the way, it's been a cold winter. Very cold winter up here. One of the coldest that I can remember. And we're at the tail end of it. It just started to break. Did I not name that fish? The fish hook. Oh, I named it plane. Great. 80 degrees Celsius is crazy. No wonder you like ice. Yes, to our European audience, think upper 20s or 30s. Man, I think the hottest I can really tolerate is 85. When it gets up to 90, that's when it's like starting to have problems. Now, me being an Alaskan, I'm used to realizing that I need to be more careful when it's hot outside. There was a guy that I went to go film with, and he was not so careful. He came from a higher latitude, and I believe it was Montana. No, Minnesota. It was Minnesota. He came from Minnesota, and he was used to cold winters, and here he was in the middle of Florida, outside filming in the heat of summer. We're getting ready to all go out filming, and I put on a camel pack. So it's the basically the container that you put on your back so you can have water, and then you have a little straw you can suck out of. I filled it with water and then put it in the freezer. So I had a block of ice on my back as we're going out to film in the sun. And as it melted, I would drink. I stayed nice and cool. I wore shorts. And like right now I have a t-shirt. I didn't have the t-shirt underneath, so I just had basically a tarp sort of collared shirt, kind of like the Crocodile Hunter. And I was just fine. I look over, and the guy from Minnesota is wearing sweats and a beanie cap. He looks like he's ready to go into 40-degree weather. And here he was going to 90-plus degree weather in sweats and a beanie. Oh, and a jacket on top of that, because it was all about style. As we were out filming, I'm like, buddy, you need to get some water. Stay in the shade. And he was like, no, I'm fine. Half an hour later, we're finishing up and getting ready for his role, and we look over and like, where'd he go? And somebody sees the silhouette of him collapsed in the shade. He became overheated and was on the verge of heat stroke. He was in a bad way. He was trying to get a fever. He was miserable. We could barely get him back to the house to be able to cool him off. And we basically laid him in bed and left him there so he could recover. And then someone looked at me and said, "You're from Alaska. How come that didn't happen to you?" I was like, first off, I dressed for the occasion, and I literally have a glacier on my back. Well, the guy unfortunately did not really learn his lesson. As I understand, he he didn't quite understand what the point was. So that's unfortunate. There we go. Gotta have the sound effects in there. Have you ever been ice fishing? Yes, I have. Not necessarily the most enjoyable thing in the world. I'm not a fan of it. Basically, go out there, drill a hole in the ice just to sit on a bucket and hope that a fish appears. Hope. And fish in the middle of winter are not tasty. They're like running low on like nutrition. The stuff they're eating is very minimal. They're kind of like in a hibernation state. So their meat is not very good. There's not much need to fish for, fish in the middle of winter. In California, it's like 99 degrees the other day. Ugh. You can keep that 99 degrees. You just take that hot stuff and just, take your leave with it. Wonder how a bath with ice feels like after a heat stroke. I would not advise it. Heat stroke, as I understand, you kind of want to gently cool the person off. Yes, you want to cool them off fast, but that will cause a shock to their system. Instead, it's better just to lay them down, let the heat start to come off of them, and then dip their hands in cold water. Not ice water, but just cool water. And then you can start to bring their temperature down. Kind of like how if someone's freezing, you don't want to put them right next to a fire. That will cause them to, or put them in a hot bath. That will cause their body to shock as well. You want to put them in something warm, but you don't want to put them in something scalding hot. Raise the temperature gradually. Let their body adjust. I don't know what the actual temperature is. I'm sure someone in the medical field or first responder could tell you immediately what that difference is. But I've just learned be careful about that sort of stuff because I have seen people get shocked in that sense. Thankfully not in that sort of stuff, but you never know. I believe it's a thing to cool people off in an ice bath. It's not like a burn wound where you can't. I'll check. See, it's always good to double check that stuff. I remember I did a spicy hot chip challenge. I drank milk and water. Ooh. I took a shower and I was dying. My stomach was in so much pain after that. I got a strawberry ice cream. It is a thing, gold standard, actually. Ah, interesting. Gold standard. Ice standard. But no more than 30 minutes. I think I might be thinking about the 30 minutes then, because I remember seeing a guy whose system was shocked and thinking, ugh, that's not good. Have to remember that. See, this is why it's good to stay up to date on on facts and figures, because sometimes you remember hearing something when you're younger, and then it solidifies, and then you have to be, be refreshed or corrected on that. Okay, it zips by, and how do we do this next? Confuse it with burn wounds. That might be the case. I do know that, like, for example, if you give someone who's dehydrated a whole lot of water, this is where I think I probably got that confused. If you have someone dying of dehydration, you don't want to allow them to guzzle water, especially cold water. Like, cold water, yes, is good for you, but people that are dehydrated will guzzle water, and they'll actually cause water poisoning, and it will cause a shock to their stomach and whatnot, and they'll start vomiting it back up. And so you want to give them like a cup, and they'll drink it pretty fast, and then you give them another cup, because if you gave them the whole bottle, they would just chug the whole thing in a moment. As cold water makes blood circulation slower, which slows the healing process. My dad asked me if I wanted to go to Alaska a year ago to see the Aurora Borealis, but I said no because I thought it would be too cold for me to handle. It depends on how you adjust to things. Do you know I'm not actually didn't grow up in the state? I grew up in hot places around the world. I lived in Arkansas, I lived in Alabama, I lived in Virginia, Japan, Kansas. Oh, Kansas, yeah, it does get hot. Not as much as Arkansas, though, or Alabama. I lived in Florida. You adjust to the place that you live in. Now, it can be shocking to your system if you do it, just out of the blue. I'm not going to the Sahara Desert. I would pass out. But I do know people that do. They go there, they're from Alaska, they go down there, they're just fine. You adjust as needed. It's kind of a problem in our modern world. A lot of people kind of forget that, that's part of living. You do adjust. Now, there's other reasons to not do it, but that's another topic entirely. By the way, I saw the Aurora only 3 times. One time it was super faint. Another time it was like a line across the sky. And then there's another one. This one is the one that really shocked me. There was no Aurora. It was New Year's Eve. I just got out and I was starting to drive back home. I looked up at the sky, and it was like it unfolded. Suddenly, there wasn't just an aurora. It looked like a dove. It was so very beautiful. And then it transformed, and it looked like an angel. I got a photo of it, and shared it on my social media feed a while back. And I remember just looking at that and thinking, I had never really seen a good solid aurora up until that point. And the one that I see is that. Very, very beautiful. Some people go their whole lives without getting to see a good aurora. And I've not seen like the most elaborate auroras, but I did get to see that. And, you know, that one is what I would say was an artistic aurora. Do they ever appear in the South Pole? They do. Southern aurora is what they're called. They can be beautiful, but they're slightly different. I don't really remember as to why or how. But I do remember there is a slight difference. My own journey unto the stream dwelleth nigh until its end, for weariness hath taken hold of me. I bid thee a most pleasant continuance of thy stream. Fare thee well, and goodbye. Indeed. Nicely said. Oh, and an addendum there. My journey to the stream is cometh to an end. Sadly, I'm getting exhausted. Having a pleasant rest. Have a pleasant rest of the stream. Goodbye. We'll have a handy dandy time and see you later, partner. Okay, that was not the best, voice response, but I've been out of practice. Fun fact, that's actually how I got started streaming, was doing voice acting. I was doing role play. What time is it? Oh, okay. We've been going for 2 hours and 30 minutes. We're going to go to the 3-hour marker, and I think that will probably call it there. So, another 20 minutes or so. So it zips past. Now, there's a lot of things I want to do with this rig, but the rig is not possible to pull it off. Like, I want him to try and hide behind there and then jump out and grab it, but I'm missing some bones for the fish. And I can't do that without destroying the rig and starting over. So I'm just going to have to skip it. This is about salvaging an old animation, not trying to reinvent the fish wheel in the time being. So I need this to have another cut. So we're going to have a cut right here. New marker. And we're going to have another shot. It's going to be the this right here. Okay, we're going to grab this. This is a shot 5, I believe. We'll rename this after it's all said and done. This is going to be now shot 6. Tie that to this camera. Shot 6. And we're going to have it. Okay, changed a bit. 1, 2, 3. keyframe. 1, 2. Now restructure it. Let's put empty out here. This is an old a technique I learned a while back. It's actually really handy for when you're trying to animate things on the and have like smooth transitions. So what I do is I create an empty right there. I parent that to this, and I'm going to have this. Let me change this a little bit here. Let's have it random for this. Empties are kind of a little hard to see in this. So I'm going to grab that now, and I can rotate it like this. And now I rotate it all the way like that. Make that linear. Come back here. Now we're going to copy location of this empty. We're going to turn the influence down to here. And then right here, we're going to bring it on back. So now we have it turning around. No, it doesn't look great, but it's not supposed to necessarily be great. It's supposed to be enough to where I can start to get just a general idea of what's happening here. So loop, it's supposed to loop around. And now because of that, I want to reposition that. Let's move it inward a little bit. There we go. I couldn't understand this empty stuff. It was a little confusing to get started with. I remember I tried to use one on the spinning rotor, but it didn't work. Follow path also didn't. It does take a little bit of experimentation. Let's take a brief moment to do that. Once I got this shot done, the next part is going to be a little difficult. So we'll take a brief moment to examine that. Actually, let's get rid of the copy location. Let's do something different. Let's go over here and we're going to do copy transforms. We're going to grab that. Before? No, it's not that. I missed the offset. Offset was so much easier to figure out. Okay, you know what? That's not going to work. Instead, what we're going to do is the next best thing. We're going to copy rotation. Going to add
Maybe not. Okay, we'll figure that part out later. All right, we'll just, for the meantime, come in here. It loops around like so. Whoop-de-doo. Real sophisticated. Zip it on out. It loops back around. It's coming back at him. And that's where we'll end that part off. All right, let's go over and do an experimentation with empties. Okay, empty time. Let's increase the size of our empties, because that is a little difficult to see. Empty, 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 empty. Actually, it's outline that we're looking for. Where is this thing? Okay, let's do a quick search. Oh, I was close. It's under themes. Themes and outline. That's what it is. At the very bottom here. So now, if we add in an empty, it should start to show up. Nope, nope, apparently not. That's unfortunate. Why is that not appearing? Which area is this under? 3D viewport. Increase the line width in Blender. Change the empty display size and the object proportions of each instance. That's not helpful. Display in interface. It is line width. Interface. Default thick. There we go. Wow, that was ridiculously cumbersome to try and get out. Have you seen the new Harry Potter trailer? Yeah, I was not too pleased with that. As a lot of people, it was unfortunate in many ways. All right, so just so you know, this is what we're going to try and do. We're going to try and make a simple moving rig system using empties. Let us describe what an empty is. An empty is similar to a cube. It's an object, but unlike the object, it has no mesh data. There's nothing that gets rendered. It is empty space.
It is nothing more than preserving the position of something. So, if you want your cube to be in a location, which, by the way, let's just turn on random for some of this stuff here. If you want to, let's also increase the background color so that the stuff stands out a little bit better. Let's get rid of the grid, or at least make the grid, a lot less of an issue. There we go. Let's grab this, and we're gonna add a red color. Stand by. Okay, now we got some visuals to kind of work with. So if you want the object here to be parented to here, you grab both of them, and just like any other object, you just do a general parent. And now you have a point of rotation. Same thing with constraints. If you want to be able to copy the position of something, you come over here and you add in a constraint. Copy location, copy it of the empty. Now, if we move the empty like this, we're scaling it, nothing happens because we only are copying the location. But if we were to parent the cube and the empty, it scales with the empty. Just like any other mesh, an empty maintains 3D space, just without the mesh data. And there's some pretty cool stuff you can do with that. We're going to do a quick demonstration while I go into talking about this Harry Potter trailer. So let me start off by saying the original Harry Potter series was interesting. It had a lot of merit to it. There's a lot of cool things that took place in the world. It was inspired by the books, but it also left room for interesting interpretations. This new one felt like a knockoff. It did not add anything of benefit. It was cosplaying the movies and the books together. As such, I do not think it's going to do well. I think it is at risk of destroying the fandom in many ways, similar to how the Rings of Power destroyed a lot of people's love of Lord of the Rings. Didn't destroy it for everybody, but it did make it a lot more difficult to appreciate it because the people that were the original fans were not being treated as like they mattered. So I have no hope that it's going to do well because it's trying to say that the old films were somehow not good. But yet at the same time, they're making their film look very, 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 very similar. So what's new? Is it the stuff from the books? No, not really. A lot of it is that it's a retelling because a lot of people are starting to want to replace the old. Thinking about it like this. Let's say that you make a product. You have competition that comes along who looks at it and says, I could do better. And then they go out and they make a knockoff of your product. You're still selling your product. It's an attempt to try and take away finances. It's done in a sense of greed, but it's under the disguise of caring about the original product. There's a lot of people that really, 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 really like the Harry Potter films. Those films didn't end that long ago, and yet they're already making a remake. I don't really see a point of reshooting the movie, but it might be cool. I think that's part of the trick. See, those films ended. Well, they're not technically ended. Technically, Warner Brothers was like getting prepared for like more to come out. The parks are still very popular. If it looked different, that would be a completely different situation. But so much of it looks similar. They use the same color schemes. They used a lot of the same atmospheres. The actors are different. And that's really the only thing that stands out. Pride. That's kind of what it is. We want to retell it in our image. It'd be a different story if it was maybe another 20 years. 20 years is what it would take for me to say, okay, now you can start remaking it. It's kind of like when Moana becomes a live action film, and the animated film was not even really 10 years ago. What are you doing, Disney? Same thing with the people that are making the new Harry Potter. They're not adding something different. They're just trying to steal the fame, the thunder, and the finances because Harry Potter is such a very, very rich product. The people that make stuff for Harry Potter make a lot of money. That's no exaggeration. It is one of the highest paying franchises of all time. And it's still going strong. Don't you think that the people making it were like, hey, let's just say we're remaking it. We're making something completely different. They're trying to steal the audience. I'm surprised they allowed that J.K. Rowling decided to give them the green light for that. I would have thought that she would have known better. But maybe not. Maybe not. Because the original films were not bad. That's the other thing. People act like somehow the original films are terrible. In what way? What was so terrible about the original films that you're like, we have to remake this? Now, my brother and I were talking about it, and we're like, the series currently feels very odd. And whatever benefit they thought they were making out of all this, you can tell it's political at this point. And if it's political, you're going to have a heck of a time trying to inspire people. Because all of it's built upon kind of a bitterness. A bitterness of the old. And doesn't even make sense. Seems a bit darker also. Not so wholesome as before. Nothing but they can get some easy money. You know what the original film series got right? A lot of people criticize it for this, but they got it very right. Slow escalation. If a story is too serious at the start, and you have it going on for films upon films, you risk escalating your story too fast, and it makes a lot of problems. It was slow escalation for the films. It felt like a natural progression from childhood to adulthood, from simplicity and magicalness to dark and heavy. It was an appropriate escalation. This new one feels like they're starting with the dark. So when it escalates, it's going to feel like hell. I don't think they realize that. Otherwise, it doesn't feel like the stakes are high because they went too deep, too dark, too fast. Okay, let's go back to this project here. So now I have the basics figured out. So we're going to run this with empties. So here's our empty system. What I'm going to do is I'm going to start parenting these objects. The cubes are going to go to the spheres. And then we're going to start off just by seeing what that looks like. So I'm able to rotate this, and kind of like a normal rig system, it's maintaining those points. Now we're going to do something similar. So this thing can move. We're going to copy this. We're going to take this, and we're going to drive this with the copy location constraint. So now this moves with the empty, but it doesn't rotate. Instead, it just goes straight forward. Now, instead, we're going to add a track 2, and we're going to track to this empty. We're going to experiment and figure out which path we want to do. There we go. And we're going to copy that constraint from here. We're going to copy this. Copy, but instead we're going to change that one from that empty to this one, and from this empty to this one. So now this is our new system. We can be able to move it around, and now look, it has the ability to kind of help maintain some of this rigging. But you may say, why bother? You have the cube right there. Couldn't you do the same thing with a cube? Yes, you could. But let's say, for example, you want to change the cube. Let's say that you want to add a cylinder. Let's change this material and make it a greenish color. And because of this lighting, it looks kind of orangish. Okay, let's go back and change the saturation. Right, saturation is to gray again. Let's put it to white. Okay, let's put a white background. Just make this a little bit easier to kind of see. Okay. All right, let's just go back to this. Okay, that stuff was getting a little too outlandish there. All right, so we want to swap the cube with this. Well, one of the benefits is that we can be able to just come here and copy the constraints. So we're able to get rid of that
And then we just change this empty to copy the transforms of this empty right there. Now you're able to change that without changing your rig system. This is the benefit of empties. Getting goosebumps from just looking. Welcome to the whole new world of empties. Empties and constraints kind of go hand in hand in many ways. Remember, empties are just empty objects. Nothing is in them. But it gives you a point of reference for when you want to move something around. Then it comes in handy. That's empties to a T. There's nothing more beyond that. Constraints, that's where it gets more problematic. It gets a lot more confusing. But that too starts to become easier to work with. Rigging is hard. I learned it early on because I didn't have anyone else that wanted to rig. I learned UV unwrapping because no one else wanted to learn how to do that. And so when I'm trying to make my short films, no one wanted to participate. So I had to learn to do it all by myself. Learning it one step at a time. Once you understand basic armatures, empties start to seem really useful because you don't need a full armature to get motion. You now can make an animation just with this without having to worry about armatures. Now, armatures are better, but empties offer a lot of opportunities that normal armatures struggle with. Here's a way that it comes into real handy sort of position. What is going on here? Okay, there's I got a hotkey problem I'm going to have to figure out later on. I saw it happening earlier, but I think I'm going to have to tinker with my PC. So now, because you have empties, you can kind of also, if you so desire, create your own camera rigs in that sense. You can be able to use it for lighting. Let's say you have a machine and there's a light on it. You're able to put the light on the machine and you're able to keep it kind of oriented based upon the empties. There's a lot of cool things you can do with it. And it is a shortcut for when you don't want to have to worry about setting up a whole armature. Here's another area that you can use it for. Let's say you have some sort of pointer out there, some sort of cone, some sort of tree. Let's say the wind's blowing through the tree, you want to move the tree, but you don't want to, animate it like this. You don't want to rotate it. You want to do something more interesting. So then you decide you're just going to add in an empty. And by the way, empties have different shapes. The shapes mean nothing. So you just put that out there. And then you come in here, grab a constraint, track to the empty, and make it positive. Okay? Now you're able to sway the tree around pretty easily just by doing that. Takes nothing. I mean, takes nothing because it's an empty. Cue the drums. Oh wait, Silverado's still broken, so I can't do that. All right, I'm gonna have to call it there. Didn't go as long as I was wanting. I wanted to go for one more hour, but I realized that I got started a little bit later than I was intending, and so we are going to call it at this point. Tomorrow, I don't know what we're going to do. We're going to do something else. We're going to start with games again. and then we're going to go into animation. But the question is, will it be this project or will it be the previous project? Either way, I'm going to figure something out. I got to go and tinker on a commission before the night is out. So I will see you later. Have a very pleasant evening and morning, everybody. Be civil to one another. And we will see you next time, whenever that is. Until then, folks, have a very pleasant evening.